The next thing he should do, tell him if you know him, is to restructure this country. Nigeria is a fraud. One particular tribe repressing the whole of us. Did you hear what central bank governor wants to do? Just a department, the operation department of central bank, to be moved back to Lagos, where you have 99% of the headquarters of bank. The north is agitated. Don't take Abuja back to Lagos. They don't care. If you all become beggars, it's okay for their oligarchic mentality. I talk like no other pastor talk. I talk like no other pastor talk. Because I have seen into governance, I have seen into the church. And I know where the problem is in this country. Are you hearing me? They may not like what I'm saying, but they cannot dispute the truth. This country cannot go on like this. Okay, I was talking about those who migrated. I don't blame those that want to japa. You know, initially I was saying don't japa. Do you hear me say that again? Japa if you want to japa. Because you look at the country and say, what future? If it goes on like this, what future? If it goes on like this, civil war is imminent. If it goes on like this, military intervention is imminent. Do we want to go back to that? No. Something must happen. I have always believed that something must happen. Do you see the way we pray in this church? Make Nigeria one. We don't pray. Nigeria is not one, and it can never be one. We are different nations tied together by force. We should still be one country, but let everyone govern himself the way he likes. Are you hearing me? Let the Niger Delta have their oil. Let the East have their resources. Let the Yoruba people have their resources. Let the North have their resources. Let them manage their security. Give them state police. Let everybody guard his borders. Let everybody generate his economy. Why must you generate oil in the Niger Delta and take it to the north? Why must we generate IGR here, or the VATs, and take it to the north? That generate nothing. The 10 key northern states have Sharia. Sharia says no to alcohol. Sharia says no to tobacco. But alcohol and tobacco is what give us VAT here. And you take the money from there to spend where you say you don't want, but you like the money. Fraud, unfairness, injustice. Where did we sit down to make Nigeria 36 states? Where did we sit down? Nigeria was negotiated 3 regions: North, West, East. 1963, by plebiscite, Midwest came in. Where did we sit down and say we shall be 36 states plus Abuja, and the biggest one taken to the north? More local governments. Then we came with federal character. You are qualified, but from the tribe you came from, you can't be qualified. Now, you can't pass any law in that National Assembly without northern approval. They are in larger quantity, deliberately made so. So how do we go from there?
What President Tinubu should be doing now, rather than grappling with 8 agenda, is to focus on 2 agendas. The 2 agendas should be restructuring Nigeria. Nigeria needs urgent restructuring. Constitutional restructuring, fiscal restructuring, governance restructuring, massive electoral reform. I don't know, at the age and what President Tinubu has accomplished, I don't think there's anything left for him. He has become president. If he truly loves Nigeria and he loves God, the next thing he should do, forget about all the sounding, the noise around him. I say to everybody who can't listen, we may be quick again to say, okay, he's Mr. President. Mr. President is not omnipresent, he's not omniscient, he is not God. He is dealing with 1,300 MDAs. And see, the people said in Proverbs 5:5, if you surround the king with righteous men, if the king is incompetent and unrighteous, he will be forced to do the right thing. But if you surround the king with very wicked, very pliant, very hypocritical, very sycophantic heads who are incompetent and who always cover their incompetency in sycophancy, no matter how good the intention the king is, they will mess him up. He should narrow 2 agendas. He will structure Nigeria. Nigeria was very, very excellent between 1960 to 1966 because of the structure we had. fiscal federalism, reform INEC, and bring about massive electoral reform. If he does this within the next 2 years, you will be shocked how quick this country will turn around. I want to appeal to him as a very passionate Nigerian who is heartbroken with the state of things in Nigeria. If he can narrow his agenda to just restructuring Nigeria, and he has always believed in Nigeria restructuring, he has always been an advocate of fiscal federalism. Bola Tinubu has always been an advocate of sovereign national conference. Now he's Mr. President. He has the power. He has the leaders. Now he has even a national assembly that he can even get to do his bidding. Let him restructure Nigeria. Do the truth. Nigeria has the potential to become a $2 trillion economy within the next 10-12 years if we do the right thing. Every other thing they are doing will not work. Under the current criminal seeking arrangement that we have, Nigeria, even if you bring an angel in Nigeria to govern Nigeria, it will continue to go south. We just need to fix the foundation. If the foundation is fixed, this country will work again.
And never deliver anything positive to the Nigerian peoples, be those Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Fulani, whatever they care to be. Make an Igbo man president of Nigeria in 2023 and force him to operate the 1999 constitution. Complete waste of time. Indi Igbo will continue to suffer the brunt of the wickedness of the Nigerian state. Every Nigerian is rendered stateless by the 1999 constitution. It is an iniquitous, wicked, and evil document. It has nothing good for the Nigerian people. And the longer we continue to fool ourselves believing, and let me enter one quick caveat. Our rulers are actually very intelligent when they care to be, especially when it comes to their own preservation. And I know as a fact that they're already making noises about restructuring in Abuja. The Mace Snatcher and the Lawan and that one that calls himself Baja, all of them are sat there running helter-skelter, cobbling together some lies that they intend to sell to us as constitutional, what do they call it, amendments. Let's be clear. You cannot continue to build on top of lies. You can't sustain that lie. And as long as justice is missing in a place, you continue to have strife. We need to tell ourselves the truth, and that truth is that the closest we can come to normalcy in Nigeria is to have a return to the original agreements that founded this country. Those agreements are very clear in their fundamentals. One of them, federal system. Nigeria is today not a federal system. Let's stop lying to ourselves. The word federal was brought to life by the American election. Each state has its own electoral body because it is essentially a country within a larger country. That was what our fathers agreed. Nobody agreed a situation where a clueless man will sit down inside a rock and begin to issue edicts and diktats to every other person. Nobody signed on for that in 1960. All the constitutional conferences beginning from 1948 all the way to the 1951, all the way to 1960, each and every one of them was very clear and unambiguous. Nigeria was meant to be a federal system based on parliamentary democracy. It wasn't by accident that our fathers settled on parliamentary democracy. They wanted to make democracy as close to the people as it could be. So it simply meant that if you're a parliamentarian, you knew your people knew you. It was the aggregation of the parliamentarians that determined who became the prime minister, and they were also the ones at the regional level who determined who became the premier. So democracy was devolved. It was easier for the people to become involved. What we have today is not a democracy. What we have today is not a federation. We've just become a nation of liars who readily accept every lie that we are told.
Here is my final word tonight. And it's going to be majorly to Mr. President, President Bola Tinubu. 2 years are gone. Half of your constitutional mandate spent navigating the stormy waters of reform, resistance, and rising hardship. You came to office promising a renewed hope agenda, telling Nigerians that the pain would be temporary, like that of a childbirth, and that joy would follow But 2 years in, the cries have grown perhaps louder, and many now wonder, when will the joy come? Inflation surged, food inflation went to an all-time height, transport costs were tripled, and the average Nigerian now spends more of their income just to eat, as if they are lucky. Petrol is hovering over 700 naira per litre, and electricity tariffs have risen even as supply is still very erratic. And yet, the Nigerian people, resilient, loyal, enduring, have held on. But holding on cannot be the national plan. You promised to lift millions out of poverty, create thousands of digital jobs in 24 months, and double power generation. These were not poetic aspirations. They were campaign commitments. Mr. President, time is not on your side. You have just 12 months before the political season begins to whisper again. If ever there was a time to show the fruits of sacrifice, it is now. You are the president of both your lovers and your loudest critics, the hopefuls who sang your name at the polls and the skeptics who prayed you will fail. But leadership demands maturity of mind and empathy of heart. You now preside over a fractured but hopeful nation. Good people, bad politics, and an ugly economy. Nigeria today is at a historic inflection point. Mismanage these opportunities, sir, and we risk descending into a cycle of unrest, disillusionment, and regret. But if you rise, Mr. President, to the moment, and you could become a defining leader, one whose name is etched in gold as a man who brought Nigeria back from the brink, you must ignore sycophants who clap in darkness while citizens cry in daylight. Mr. President, please urgently surround yourself with thinkers, doers, and patriots, not just loyalists. Every day must count. Every decision must deliver value, because when a nation suffers this deeply, there is no luxury of time or ego. No more excuses. President Bola Tinubu, we in the media, we will do our own part. We will question, probe, inform, and hold you accountable, not out of hostility, but out of duty. The opposition must also rise, not just to criticize, but to push this country forward. Civil society organization must now organize, awaken consciences, and be the voice of the voiceless, and our people must now stop being docile. We need to raise a mass of active citizens who are willing to fight for their nation and also work hard for its good. Citizens, your voice counts. Don't lose it. And for those of us who believe and who are people of faith, we will pray as scripture commands us for the peace of the land and the success of its leaders. Because President Bola Tinubu, your success is Nigeria's success, and your failure will be our shared tragedy. Nigerians will rally behind you if they see sincerity, action, and result. But never forget, fury awaits any leader who mocks the pain of the poor. Sir, history is watching, posterity is watching, and 200 million Nigerians are watching. Let this second half of your presidency be a turning point. Make us proud, President Bola Tinubu. Make Nigeria great. And that has to start now.
I just felt that, why can't we have a system of government that is 100% Nigeria, unique to us? For example, we started off with the British system of government. Somewhere along the line, we moved over to the American system of government. I was just wondering, can't we have a combination of both and see whether it could help us solve a problem? You see, because in mathematics, if you want to solve a problem and you try what we call real analysis and it doesn't work, then you move on to complex analysis and see if that will help you. If that fails, you move on to vector analysis and so on. I believe that probably we might need to look at the problem of Nigeria in a slightly different manner. You see, because some people feel that all our problems will be over if Nigeria should break up. I think that is trying to solve the problem of Nigeria as if it's a simple equation problem. The problems of Nigeria will require quite a bit of simultaneous equations, and some of them are not going to be linear either. Forgive me, I'm talking as a mathematician. So I was thinking, why can't we, for example, have a system of government that will create a kind of what I would call United States of Nigeria? And let me explain. We all know that we must restructure. I mean, it's either we restructure or we break. That means they say you don't have to be a prophet to know that one. That is certain to come. Restructure or break up. Now, we don't want to break up. I mean, God forbid. In restructuring, why don't we have, like I said, a Nigerian kind of democracy? At the federal level, for example, why don't we have a president and a prime minister? Hey, what do you mean? Well, if we have a president and a prime minister, and we share responsibilities between these two, so that one is not an appendage of the other. For example, if the president controls the army and the prime minister controls the police, if the president controls, shall we say, resources like oil and mining, and the prime minister controls finance and inland revenue, taxes and customs, etc., etc. You just divide the responsibilities between the two. And then you come to the state level. And at the state level, you have the governor and you have the premier. And again, you distribute responsibilities between these people in such a manner that one cannot really go all alone without the other. Maybe this is just a mathematical suggestion.
If you have a system that does not work, like a company, like China, it doesn't work. The structure does not work. You sit down, dialogue, and look at the structure. And look at it and say, how do we go around with this? Let us sit down and talk about it.
So we really need to sit down and talk?
It's something that is inevitable.
What about 2014 confab?
No. That's what I'm saying. They've discussed it before. Maybe we're talking about the implementation now. Since it has been discussed, let us look whether is 36 states viable, is 50 viable, what is viable? Where are we going to look? Well, let's look. See, for me, it is all about looking at the future of the country, the viability of our operations and everything. If I look at restructuring, the first thing that comes to my mind is, yes, we must restructure because we want to look at the cost of governance because the cost is unacceptable. So, America, with 18 trillion economy, has 50 states. Of these 50 states, one state, California, has a 39 million population. The size of California is about 50% the size of Nigeria. In terms of size, they have their GDP is 2.6 trillion, which is 6 times our GDP. California alone. New York has about, say, 1/6 of our land size. The GDP of New York is 1.5 trillion, which is like about 4 times our GDP. And then you have all this, and I can tell you the cost of running the office of governor of California is less than the cost of running the office of governor.
So the states are not viable.
No, you can see, it's clear. We don't need to be told this thing. China with the 11 trillion economy have 33 states, and then you have all these things. I'm not saying shrink all this, but if we look at it, let's look at the size of the economy. Look at everything, and then states can be created. After Indonesia, in the past few years, they've created some states. Let's do things in an organized manner. What it is that
would you subscribe to a regional government? Like some people have suggested that we need to go back to regional government before the 1966 coup. We were before
we might not go back there. I don't entirely agree we'll go back there. We don't have citizenship. Before it was 4 or 3. Now we're not going to go back there. We might look at it and say this 6 or this might be more viable or this can help us to reduce. For me, it will help to reduce cost.
If we break down the present structure.
Yeah, completely. It will have to look at you. Let me go further to tell you. A state that operates a unicameral, which we do in the state, like in America, is the state of Nebraska. The state of Nebraska have 49 legislators being paid $12,000 a year because it's part-time job, which is what state legislature should be, not the one we're operating here where it's full-time job. Because of, no, it should be a part-time job. What it takes to take a legislator in any of our states is far more expensive than what you do in state of Nebraska.
Let me quickly
the budget of state of Nebraska is $9 billion, which is about 3 trillion, which is bigger than the entire budget of the entire Southeast and Northeast put together. But the Northeast and Southeast, the entire legislators are 288. So you need to look at your system.
We're talking about the Constitution, and the Patriots are calling for a new Constitution. They want it to be more representative of the people of Nigeria, cutting across ethnic nationality. Professor Anthony Kila, Professor of Strategy and Development, as well as a political economist, is in the studio with me right here in Lagos. Is in charge of a committee, 7-member committee that will lead the group that will be looking across the country to ensure that inputs are collated and forwarded to the right authorities. So, but there are a few things I want to call your attention to that Chief Emeka Anyaoku said. He said part of what is supposed to be addressed, because when they asked him what is faulty and what he wants to correct, ineffective internal security, failure to empower rapid economic development. He also talked about unsatisfactory social development. So if I start from the very first, isn't the idea of this government on state police, taking this restructuring in some form of a piecemeal, bit by bit, is that not good enough?
It's good, but not good enough. You're right. It's a good idea. You see, the difference of what laws does is that, as my daughter will put it, laws are gradual reform. Constitution are intense and radical changes. So if we agree, if the Constitution recognizes state policing, for example, it is different from an amendment. It is different from just a legislator. You see what I mean? It shows the structure of the country so that way, if the Constitution recognizes the presence and the importance of subnationals in the country, whether they're regional states, we can look at that. A violation of which would be a clear violation of the Constitution. So it's important. We are in a situation in Nigeria in particular where minor inputs are not enough. But globally, because of the times we live in, you need very quick and intense intervention to obtain anything. The world of gradually is over. Where you take a piecemeal approach, as you said, is over. You really need to turn things around quickly now, in a very intense and rapid way. So
the second one has to do with rapid economic development, which he says this constitution doesn't allow for.
Yes.
It sounds like another way of saying restructure, fiscal restructuring of the country. And when you bring the issue of restructuring, it looks like the South is advancing that cause. The North seem to be a bit laid back in approaching it. So how does the Patriots, how do you want to approach this?
Well, there are two things to be said about the issue of restructuring. You've actually left out a third one.
Okay.
Where people say restructuring means different things to different people. That's one of those kind of common places that is devoid of intellectual pirates that people say in this country. We should stop saying that. Restructuring is a word that is in the dictionary. It does not mean different thing. If you don't understand what it means, pick a dictionary and check what it means. And that is what it should mean for everybody. There can be no, this is what it means for you, this is not what it means for me. Maybe your idea of a new Nigeria is different from mine. But let us agree at least on what a word means. Otherwise, we're not going to move forward. We're just, fall into the rail of relativism. Let's not do that. Here's the thing. I do not believe this commonplace to say that the South wants restructuring, the North does not want it. I know a lot of Northerners that are fully for restructuring the country. They're fully for a true federal state because they want to manage their resources, which we have, and they want to lead a kind of life that you as a Southerner might not even agree with. And I think it is that kind of system that agrees. On restructuring, let me say something very personal. This is me talking now. That unlike other people who try to disguise that word and shy away from it, I own it. There's nothing wrong in the word restructuring. There's nothing wrong in saying that you want a Nigeria that is decentralized. There's nothing wrong in saying that you want a country where the center is weak and the peripherals are stronger. Absolutely nothing wrong. You know, let's make that case for ourselves and then let's see what happens. So, yes, I do not believe that the interest for restructuring is North versus South. I think it's just some lazy people who are intellectually lazy or perhaps mischievous.
It may not be that they're intellectually lazy. It may just be there. Just like you have a right to say yours and hold your view, it is their right to define what they want their country to look like.
I call it lazy because they not to be informed. Because the truth is that we go to the North today, just like Nigeria, these views cut across. I believe there are some people who are, in the name of the North, are saying things that is not what the North believe in. There are people who thrive on this division and they use their people, both in the North and the South, without taking anything to their people. How can you talk on the North when the North is so poor? And you edge yourself to be their voice and their leader. It's time to start saying shame on those leaders who have led the North to a very poor place. And indeed, anybody who has led Nigeria to being so poor, any part of their country, North or South, and who still think they have a right to speak for them. Part of what the advocacy group is going to do is to reveal the true Nigeria beyond the known faces that have been speaking for them, to see what the people actually want, so that they won't get a constitution that is a decree, but they get the people's voice, students and workers, traders and scientists, painters and writers, to say, this is my North, this is my South.
So what timeline is the Patriot looking at? So
our 1999 constitution is fundamentally flawed. It was imposed by a military regime without the input of the people and does not reflect our diverse realities. It centralizes power in Abuja, leaving states weak, dependent, and unable to drive local development. This structure has led to widespread inefficiency, economic imbalance, and deep feelings of marginalization across regions. A constitution that claims to speak for we, the people, must actually represent the people. Now, I don't know why people see restructuring as a different thing, but restructuring is not about dividing Nigeria. It's about creating a more balanced, just, and functional system where all regions can thrive by devolving power, allowing states to control their resources, and promoting true federalism. Well, let's listen to what other people have to say about this. But before then, please kindly like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
A bit sensitive, but let me ask two quick questions to assuage the fears and anxieties of someone who is already saying, oh, look at these two Yoruba people, want to dismember this country. Prof, up front, are you seeking to dismember Nigeria from the area? Quick answer, so that I would like to continue.
There are examples in the world. Yes. Canada is, all Nigerians are running to Canada.
Okay.
Canada is even maybe 20 times Nigerian size.
Absolutely, in terms of land.
But they have 10 provinces. Each province is on its own, and they are still Canadians. They have the same flag. Even Quebec speaks French. They don't speak English totally. And they are allowed to speak their French. It's not a threat to the English area.
Yeah.
Alberta is another province. They have oil. They don't share their oil with other provinces. They pay federal tax, but oil belongs to Alberta people. So it's just a rainbow.
We were doing that in Nigeria before anyway. It was the military that messed up everything.
If you have, there are going to be schedule of functions. Federal system will have its own functions. The region will have their own function, and they will make laws and they make constitutions based on that. One thing that my approach will cure is take even a state now. Everything by convention. Whereas each region can have a constitution where it says, how do you rotate power, even in the regions. It's now left as convention. And anybody can say, no, it's our turn. Look at what's happening in Edo State now. Will the governor go to Edo Central or Edo North or Edo South? It's left to congestion. But if they had a constitution where they are negotiated how Edo State, the former Bendel,
it has become a law.
It has become a law, and they all understood it. Then there's no question somebody coming on and say, oh, it's our turn in the North, in the Edo North, it's our turn, and then you start using all manner of, in fact, this is what opens the ethnicization of all politics. If you already knew when your turn is, you'll be grooming yourself to say, in 2027, it is South, and everybody will look in the South, Midwest to say, let's get the best out of Midwest, because we now know constitutionally in that area is their turn.
The prediction some years ago that Nigeria would become a failed state has actually come to pass. Some of the indices of a failed state are when non-state actors possess equal or stronger or more potent power than a legitimately constituted government, power of violence, instruments of coercion and violence, as we are saying now. And let us not always be saying Nigeria is indivisible, it is indissoluble. It's not a textbook definition. Indissolubility and indivisibility can only be brought about when you nurture unity, mutual respect, egalitarianism. It is already divided because every geopolitical zone is already going according to its own details. There is no cohesion. There is no leadership. Can't you see that Nigeria is hemorrhaging? Can't you see that we are bleeding? Can't you see that we are on a journey to no destination? Can't you see that the president should wake up from his self-imposed cocoon and hibernation and seize the reins of power and save Nigeria from what remains of ourselves, self-implosion, self-immolation? Can't you see that we are tottering, we are wobbly, we are groggy? Can't you see that we are falling? We are falling apart. Can't you see that we needed, as yesterday, to do something urgent to save Nigeria from the precipice, from breaking up into smithereens? Can't you see that the house is collapsing, that the edifice is collapsing? Can't everybody see it? Even if you are blind, can't you feel it? Even if you are blind and you can't feel it, are you numb?
Coming up, and it's looking like the success of an election would impact on the financial situation of the economy, which would directly impact.
That's what everyone is hoping for.
So what do you see or foretell regarding that?
Well, I think that is what I call the deception of situational hope. In the last 22 years, since 1999, has anything changed? So it's just what I call the danger of it. So you are, when your situational hope is when you base your hope on one situation. It's like what happened with NSAS. People just, this is in Nigeria. And then when the crisis happened, everybody just, And now people are beginning to wake up to say, okay, there seems to be hope, but really, it doesn't work like that. Why? Because you need to understand that there are fundamentals that has not changed. Until those fundamentals change, our constitution, the operation of our country, until those fundamentals change, no matter who comes into the position of leadership, there will still be little that they can do. Because, for instance, most of what we are touting now, I'll give you an example. Look at the United States of America. They've entered into recession right now. The United States of America, in the last 7 to 8 years, have handed over the country to old people, beginning from Donald Trump, now to Biden. And look at what old people have done. And now in Nigeria, unfortunately, we are shameless. The only two people that we are is either Atiku or Tinubu. Is that not madness for a whole 200 million people? It is these old people that have expired that is the only hope. And then they are now talking of Obi, and most of the people that are saying they are obedient, they are online. They don't have PVC. Many of them are in diaspora. INEC does not count Instagram Live. So we are so I need to become that situational hope again. And then by the time they get there, they discover that nothing will happen, and then they are lost again. So we really need to begin to understand that, ask not what your nation can do for you, ask what you can do for your nation. In order for there to be national development, it's a function of transformational leadership and patriotic citizenship.
We are in Tinubu disasters. We are not practicing any democracy in Nigeria. We are practicing Tinubu administration disasters. There's nothing like practicing democracy in the current Nigeria. You understand? Okay, let me tell you what Tinubu disaster mean. Tinubu disaster come with hunger, hardship, Fulani S-men, Boko Haram, terrorists. You understand? The cost of living. That is what Tinubu administration disaster offer to the whole Nigerians. You understand? And what we can do to overpower this Tinubu disaster is when the youths are ready Understand? When we, the youth and the citizens, are ready, when we are corporate enough to fight back, if not, Tinubu disasters, everybody go collect. You understand? Because a country that claims to practice a democracy should also support the constitution that gives us freedom of speech. We cannot be practicing a democracy where there is no freedom of speech. That is called disasters. That is called corruptions. That is called Tinubu administration, corruption, bandits, Fulani S-men, disasters. You understand? We are practicing Tinubu administration, corruption, disasters. There's nothing like democracy. You understand me? We are not practicing any democracy because the power, the laws, whatever the judiciary that guide this country is being used against the poor. Why the same law is being used to favor the rich? This is my opinion. There's nothing like democracy. Democracy, my foot. As you all know.
Nigeria constitution need to be taken down and rewrite it again to serve this generation. The type of constitution that says if you encourage your brother that is doing good, you are going to jail. Such constitution need to be taken down. This guy you see here has been in prison for over how many months now? His crime is because he supported Ibrahim Traore in what he's doing. But it's not a crime for Tinubu to travel from here to France to collide with the France president. It's not a crime for Tinubu to travel from here to go and take medication in France. But when you support your own brother, your own blood brother, it will become a crime in the constitution of Nigeria. Such constitution need to be taken down and rewrite it to serve this generation. Because I don't think that Africans are the one that are writing that constitution. Maybe the white man write it for Africans. We ourselves, we have to travel from here to Ghana to go and support Ibrahim Traore, because had it been that we exercise that right in Nigeria here, by now we would have been in prison. So we have to travel from here to Ghana, where constitutional right of a citizen is protected. So there is a problem that nobody knows. Such constitution should not be in existence. That when you support your brother, you go to hell, you go to jail. Oh no. But it is not a crime for Tinubu to go to France and take medication. To go to France. Until politicians begin to keep us in one place, in one stone, and slaughter us one after another, we will never see it as a problem. Nigerian youth, we need to wake up.